The email arrives with polite language that cannot mask its meaning. The job you wanted has gone to someone else. The relationship you invested in has ended. The group you hoped to join has chosen others instead. Each dismissal, each exclusion, each moment of being unwanted leaves invisible blueprints that guide future decisions. In ancestral environments, social rejection often meant death. Being cast out from the tribe meant facing predators, starvation, and isolation that few could survive. When someone experiences social rejection, their brain activates the same regions that respond to physical injury. In laboratory experiments, participants who were excluded from a simple ball-tossing game showed immediate changes in mood, self-esteem, and sense of control. Initially, rejection triggers what researchers call the pain offset relief response. Someone who has been repeatedly dismissed begins to carry themselves with a subtle energy of unworthiness. They speak less confidently in meetings. They approach potential partners with visible hesitation. Notice how that experience influenced your willingness to be vulnerable again. The promotion that went to someone else. The idea that was dismissed in a meeting. The project that was reassigned without explanation. This particular form of rejection strikes at the core of attachment systems that formed in early childhood. It activates primal fears of abandonment, while simultaneously providing evidence that those fears were justified. The rejected person often emerges with fundamentally altered beliefs about their lovability and what they can reasonably expect from intimate relationships. They have developed the capacity to take risks because they know they can endure disappointment. They have cultivated internal validation systems that make them less dependent on external approval. Their rejection became the foundation for a stronger, more authentic sense of self. Each professional rejection carries whispered messages about competence, value, and future potential. Some people respond by working harder, trying to become undeniably worthy of acceptance. Your brain is trying to protect you by learning from social pain. But also remember that the lessons rejection teaches are not always accurate or helpful. Sometimes the most important thing you can do after being rejected is to remain open to being rejected again, knowing that your worth is not determined by any single person's inability to see it. When external validation is withdrawn, people are forced to develop internal sources of worth. A specific rejection reflects a particular mismatch between what you offered and what someone needed at that moment. It does not constitute evidence about your fundamental worth as a human being. This distinction requires emotional sophistication that often comes only through experiencing enough rejection to recognize the difference. When one path closes, they must find creativity and resilience they did not know they possessed. The person who survives rejection often develops a deeper sense of self that is less dependent on others, approval, and more rooted in authentic values and personal integrity. Others withdraw their investment, protecting themselves from caring too much about outcomes they cannot control. Most people discover that rejection teaches them to hide their true desires, to moderate their enthusiasm, to protect their authentic selves behind carefully constructed facades. They present their ideas with apologetic qualifiers. These behaviors born from past rejection increase the likelihood of future rejection, creating cycles that feel impossible to break. The acute emotional pain eventually subsides, replaced by a defensive numbness. But this relief comes with a cost. The person begins building psychological walls designed to prevent future pain. They become more guarded in relationships, more hesitant to pursue ambitious goals, more likely to reject themselves before others can reject them. Even when they knew the exclusion was random and temporary, their brains interpreted it as a meaningful signal about their social value. The rejection became internalized as truth about their worth. The anterior cingulate cortex and right ventral prefrontal cortex light up as if the person has been literally wounded. This is not metaphorical. Social pain and physical pain share neural pathways because, for most of human history, they represented similar threats to survival. The brain that kept your ancestors alive developed sophisticated systems to avoid rejection at all costs. These same systems now operate in modern contexts where the stakes are much lower, but the psychological response remains just as intense. The person who emerges from repeated rejection is fundamentally different from the one who walked into those experiences. Their dreams become smaller, their risks become calculated, their expectations become armored against hope. In that moment of recognition, something shifts deep within your sense of self. You tell yourself it does not matter, that there will be other opportunities, other people, other chances. But the rejection has already begun its quiet work of reconstruction, reshaping how you see yourself and what you believe you deserve. Rejection is not just an external event that happens to you. It is an internal architect that rebuilds your identity from the foundation up. Yet this transformation serves a purpose that evolution embedded deep in human psychology. The neuroscience of rejection reveals why these experiences feel so physically painful. Dr. Kipling Williams' research on ostracism demonstrates how quickly rejection reshapes behavior and self-perception. This internalization process follows predictable patterns. The most insidious aspect of rejection is how it creates self-fulfilling prophecies. Consider how rejection shaped your own relationship with vulnerability. Think of a time when you opened yourself to someone or something and were turned away. The workplace becomes a particularly complex arena for rejection-shaped identity. Romantic rejection creates perhaps the deepest identity shifts. The person who loved you yesterday suddenly sees you as incompatible, undesirable, or insufficient. Yet rejection also creates unexpected opportunities for growth and self-discovery. The most profound transformations occur when people learn to distinguish between being rejected and being rejectable. Some of the most compassionate, creative, and resilient people carry histories of significant rejection. They have learned that survival is possible after dismissal. The next time rejection arrives in your life, notice what it whispers about who you are and what you deserve. Recognize that your brain is trying to protect you by learning from social pain. But also remember that the lessons rejection teaches are not always accurate or helpful. Sometimes the most important thing you can do after being rejected is to remain open to being rejected again. It's knowing that your worth is not determined by any single person's inability to see it.